I'm going to keep it level with you, review family. I've never been someone that has shied away from discussing topics that can be seen as controversial or aren't widely discussed in the metal sphere. It's something that has gotten me into a lot of trouble and conflict on this platform and caused a lot of drama, random death threats, people talking about my appearance, my voice, my clothes, pretty much everything. And I think at this point I have very thick skin when it comes to putting things on the map and telling my story in a way that I hope can not only educate and inform other people, but provide a perspective that makes people think a little bit more about themselves, about people close to them, and provide something other than a narrative that is pushed by so many people that indicates something has to be one thing and nothing else. And this is going to be more of just a free-form stream of consciousness type of video, and I'm not doing this for the sake of being vulnerable. I don't fucking gain anything for this. I don't get a fucking fortune cookie at the end of the rainbow, but it's just something that I've kind of had on my mind before, and people have asked it to me back when I used to do live streams, and I never really went into it. And that is the fact that I am a Christian metalhead. And obviously, there are plenty of people that would fall into that category. But I think someone that has a platform and someone that has built a channel that is about metal content and has covered a lot of bands and topics that would not necessarily scream religious person or Christian person, and I wanted to provide context for that. Because I think a lot of times people assume that Christian metalheads are going to swear off listening to certain types of music or bands or artists solely because of their lyrical content or their personal core beliefs that guide them either through creating their songs and creating their lyrics or just otherwise building their reputation in a community that is built around a lot of anti-religious sentiments. This extends to genres like death metal, and especially the biggest culprit of this would be black metal, where a lot of the bands either are just very atheistic in their beliefs or just outright say how much they hate organized religion and Christianity. And when you add in the Norwegian scene with the church burnings and the anti-Christian messaging, and then sometimes bands that are genuinely going so far as to glorify Satan either as a theological, philosophical approach or as a literal religious approach, it becomes easy to sort of muddy the waters a little bit and assume that Christians are going to swear off listening to certain types of music. And I can safely say that I have covered black metal so much on this channel that it's probably within my top 3 genres I have talked the most about. I have covered some of the most satanic bands, like quote-unquote evil satanic bands, in the black metal niche. I have talked about Mayhem, I've talked about Burzum, Dimmu Borgir, I've talked about Behemoth, Gorgoroth, these bands that have reputations as being so evil and anti-Christian, and that doesn't even get into the grindcore bands that are very heavily politically charged and oftentimes can have these anti-religious and organized, I guess just society in general expectations, death metal bands that have obscene anti-Christian messaging, or if you want to go a step further, death metal and grindcore and porno grind and power violence that just have obscene lyrics in general that are just what you would call vile and depraved. I don't swear off listening to any type of music. And that doesn't just go for metal, that goes for any sort of genre. If you saw my top 100 Spotify Wrapped playlist from the last year, it consists of everything from hip-hop to metal to rock to folk music to literally everything. It doesn't have a label because I don't like to label it. And it sort of goes into my story a little bit of why I am such a conundrum for a lot of people to understand, because I am a lot of things that you think would conflict each other. I'm literally part of the LGBT, I'm a Christian, I'm a metalhead, I'm a writer, I'm a rapper. It literally just balls up into this mess of confusion, and it makes some people have trouble getting to know me because I am not only very diverse in my interests, I am a little hard to understand where I'm coming from sometimes because of these contradictions and conflictions. But I'll try my best to go into my personal philosophy with religion, how it plays a role in my life, and how it plays a role in my musical intake and how I approach the musical sphere as a whole. And I just wanted to say one thing right off the bat. I don't have anything wrong with atheists or agnostics or anyone else that is of any other religion in this world. I believe that it should be a free world in terms of what you practice, and I don't think that anyone or any government or any singular person should be able to force anyone to conform to a specific law, to a specific religious sect. I am very much zero tolerance when it comes to shit like that. It's the reason that I consider myself a Protestant. If you want some context of like what I consider myself, I spent a lot of years researching different sort of sects within the religious sort of veneer, and I ended up pretty much deciding years ago that I considered myself a Lutheran. And you can obviously do your own research on what that indicates, because it's a very well in-depth religious background when it comes to Christianity, and I have believed for a while in the three pillars of it: sola fide, sola gratia, sola scriptura, and it literally translates to by faith alone, by grace alone, by scripture alone. I am very anti-Catholic. Obviously, I'm not anti-Catholic in the sense of, like, I think that, any one way of dictating what a religion is wrong or right, but I definitely am not the biggest fan of Catholicism and organized Christianity. I don't think that one person should be able to put anything in a box, and I don't think that one priest or any sort of religious figure should be able to hold a holier voice than any other person on earth. And that goes for not only Christianity, but that goes for any sort of religion, whether you're a monk or whether you're a rabbi or whatever you may be. I just personally don't buy into that. But that's enough about the rants, and if you guys literally needed some sort of proof, this is sitting right around my desk where I record my videos, so that's fun. And literally in my background, I don't know if you guys can see this, but right behind my CD shelf there is literally a cross back there, and there is another one on the wall beside me. So yeah, I am a Christian. When it comes to music and how I approach things, I don't think that you have a very strong foundation if morally you physically cannot intake something just because it's in disagreement or misalignment with what you believe. And I hold that opinion not just for religion, but for anything, whether it's like a social belief, a spiritual belief, a political belief. I think that in this world, you have to have a diverse intake of information and opinions and knowledge, and you are missing out and closing the door on so many opportunities if you limit yourself to a narrow, short-sighted, tunnel-visioned version of what you believe life should be. We all have our core values, we all have our core beliefs, but when it comes to music, I can't imagine how many albums I wouldn't have enjoyed just because I didn't agree with the lyrical content. And sort of like I made that video the other day about separating the art from the artist, I think you can go down that rabbit hole forever, not just with things like murder or rape or whatever it may be. You can go down that rabbit hole with lyrical themes. You can go down that rabbit hole with sexuality beliefs. You can go down that rabbit hole with any sort of religion or political spectrum. Like, it literally doesn't end. And a while ago in my life, I stopped giving a shit about what other people tried to dictate about my own beliefs and my own opinions. I am confident in my own opinions and beliefs of life and of religion and of politics, and if anyone wants to have a conversation with me about that, I welcome it, because I enjoy debates, I enjoy conversations, and once again, if you are so immovable in your position that you are just incapable of even talking to someone rationally and logically about something that you don't agree with, I think that that just shows how faulty and shaky your foundation is, not only as a person, but just as an individual in society, because I think it's important to be able to talk through differences. I don't think my religious background has played much of a role in my music intake. I will always try to be impartial about something regardless of the lyrical content, regardless of whatever it may be. And even if I don't personally agree with something a song is preaching for or against, whether it's religious or not, I'm going to respect the lyricism or the songwriting or the poeticism, because, even if I don't agree with the vast majority of Behemoth's discography in terms of like lyricism, I love Behemoth as a band, I'm still going to appreciate the way that something is worded or constructed because they are putting their artistic beliefs into what they are crafting. And even regardless of what I believe or don't, it's not going to make that cease to exist. Now, is that to say that I don't let my beliefs dictate certain things I do or don't listen to? Yes, but it has nothing to do with religion. Like, for example, I don't really go out of my way to listen to many, like, NSBM bands. I just don't. I think I don't want to support that, and most of the time it doesn't even sound that great to begin with. But that's just a me thing. I cannot think of a time where my religious background played a role in whether I did or didn't listen to something or enjoyed versus not enjoyed something. And quite the contrary, I think while gospels and choirs and gospel music and Christian music definitely has its place just like anything else, most of the time I'm not a big fan of Christian rock and Christian metal. It's something that I do enjoy in small increments, or if it's a band that I find interesting, but most of the time I don't really like that kind of music, and I vastly prefer a lot of the music that might be considered anti-Christian or, like anti-God, whatever phrase or term you want to use for it, or even satanic. It doesn't change my beliefs. At the end of the day, I can still lay down at night and know I'm a Christian and know that I am not being moved just because I listened to someone that had a conflicting opinion than me. And there are so many negative stereotypes about Christianity in the metal sphere, and I think a lot of times it silences a lot of people with religious backgrounds, not just Christian, but people who are Muslim or Buddhist or Jewish, whatever it may be. You kind of have this status quo disability almost, where you are seen in many ways as a joke or a laughing stock, especially in the modern age where technology has made it so rampant for atheists and agnostics to run their fucking mouths. And I don't like the stereotypes, personally, just as much as I don't like stereotypes for atheists or agnostics. And I know and have met a lot of Christian metalheads. It's not like it's like some dying breed that doesn't exist. I think the only reason that Christianity is held to a different standard compared to, Judaism or Buddhism, Taoism, whatever it may be, Baha'i faith, it's because so much of the lyrical content of these anti-religious bands focus on Christianity. You don't hear about the rising bands that hates Jewish people. You don't hear about the rising black metal surge of bands that are talking about anti-Islamic, sentiments. It's always Christianity for the most part. And while there are certainly bands out there that have those anti-Jewish or anti-Buddhist beliefs, I'm sure they exist. The vast majority of these bands that are anti-religious are anti-Christian. And so for someone that is Christian and trying to enjoy music and put their voices out there just as much as anyone else, it's easy to laugh them off. It's easy to call them delusional and living in a fantasy land and, Santa Claus sitting up on a cloud telling you what to do. And it just boils things down in a really sad and depressive way, because I think everyone, as long as you're not actively hurting someone, I think you should be able to speak your voice if you're not harming anyone, if you're not physically hurting anyone, if you're not, like mentally abusing someone. Maybe my fucking standards are low, but I think that if you aren't able to have a conversation with someone rationally about a topic that you disagree with and that conflicts with each other, I think that shows both sides, or at least one side, has a very big deficiency in passion and determination, because the people that give a shit about what they care about, they want to defend what they love. They want to defend what they're passionate about. And I can very easily defend my beliefs and why I believe them. But it seems like a lot of times the anti-religious side will boil down to stereotypes and talk down to people who are religious and enjoy metal music. I've seen just so many words and so many hateful sentiments towards Christian people and religious people from many metalheads, and I understand that everyone has their own beliefs when it comes to Christianity, and in the least pun way that I can say, I understand Christians aren't saints. We've done a lot of shitty things. And just like any other group or organized group or whatever you want to call it, Christianity has had a very jaded past when it comes to people using that to hurt other people. But at the end of the day, that wasn't because of the religion. It was because of the assholes that took it and used it as a weapon. It's not because of Christians. It's not because of the everyday Christian. It's not because of the Bible or God or Jesus or whatever you want to point your finger and blame it at. It's because sycophants and zealots basically took the reins of it and used it to enforce their own agenda right here on earth. They gave no shit about heaven. They used that as a scapegoat, just like all of the, Catholics that got into little boys' pantses because they wanted to use their power. That's not a knock against Christianity. That is a knock against power dynamics and people utilizing a position to get what they want. Because I can guarantee that if you look at the statistics of people like teachers, people like coaches, people like therapists, people like, you can literally go down the list of these professions that have very high rates of predators and rapists and murderers and serial killers. You can go down the list of these professions that sort of give you the ability to do that. And just because modern Christianity and organized religion has given such a platform to be able to act on these ambitions doesn't mean that the religion itself is worth hating. You can believe what you want, but inciting violence against a group of people because of something that happened in the past is not only nonsensical, but holding people to a standard that you shouldn't. Because does that not just make you just as bad? I suppose that's just some food for thought. I just wanted to get a little philosophical because that's like my favorite thing to do on this channel, is just run my mouth and talk about things that I'm passionate about. And I wanted to hear what your guys' thoughts were. I appreciate you guys for listening and watching this video. No harm, no foul if you disagree with my sentiments. I'm sure that a lot of people that watch this probably are. Still love you. Hope you still love me. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. It never changes my content, and it never will, because at the end of the day, I'm me. I'm freeform. I like talking to people. I like having conversations, and I don't give a shit what people believe in as long as they're not hurting anyone. To each their own. Give this video a big Christian cross like if you enjoyed it. Be sure to subscribe if you're new and want to join the review family, and smash that notification bell to be notified of my future uploads. You know who it is. My name is Jay Morris, and I'm signing off saying farewell.